Good morning. My name is Amy, and this morning I get the opportunity to share with you the story about our son Gabe and our daughter Gabby. So Pastor Tom's been taking us through the book of Acts, and a couple weeks ago he talked about the early church and discipleship and what that looked like. And one of the things that he gave us as an example was testimonies. So today you get to hear one of our most recent testimonies. I have a slideshow because I'm a major geek like that. And we got blessed with a pregnancy in the fall of 2021. We were excited. We wanted a third and final kid, we thought. Turns out there were two. We were pregnant with twins. God's sense of humor is awesome. And so this one is twin A, and I have a history of multiple miscarriages. There's no diagnostic reason for it. I had them do all kinds of workup, and they couldn't find anything. But because of that, my OB wanted to do multiple ultrasounds. And the fact that there were two babies instead of one made her even more hyper about the ultrasounds. So this is Gabe at week 11. I happened to go that day by myself because everything was looking perfect. And so when we were there, they actually ended up pulling me into a room separate. I found out that's never good. And the OB came in that morning to tell me that behind our baby, there's a line before my uterine wall. I never thought my uterine wall would be on this screen, but it is. And there's a lot of black in between Gabe and his back and his head, and then another line. And that is called a cystic hygroma, turns out. Didn't know that. And if you go to the next slide, there was a reason my OB told me not to go home and Google cystic hygroma. Like any good person would, I tried not to. But I ended up Googling it, and Joe beat me. My husband beat me. He looked at it even before I did. And when you Google it, the prognosis kind of put into perspective what she was telling me. She ended up calling my husband, too, because she knew I wouldn't be able to tell him everything she told me that day. But what made it even more complicated is that there were two babies. And we were told that if our twin A didn't make it and died while I was pregnant, that it would affect the life of our twin B, Miss Gabby. And so they had us go to a high-risk doctor the very next week. They got us within a week, and we were told we would have an in-depth ultrasound. We would meet with a genetic counselor for 70 minutes, and then we would see the high-risk doctor. We were told there was a small percentage, obviously you saw it, like 10%, that the cystic hygroma would resolve on its own, and if it did, it would be by week 20. So we kind of had our closest people to us rally around us in prayer, and we went the next week. And towards the first step, towards the end of it, the person doing the ultrasound said, "Amy, did they tell you what the finding looked like?" And I said, "Well, yes, it was a cystic hygroma. It went from the top of twin A's head to the middle of his back. And it was very evident. I could see it once they pointed it out to me." And so she continued, and she said, "I can't find it." And so she said, "I'm going to go talk to the specialist, and then I'm going to come back and tell you their plan." So she stepped out for what was forever, and it was literally what was forever, because when she came back, she told us the specialist took time to review the images and that it was indeed gone, and that they compared it to the week before. It was definitely there, but it was gone. And so they wanted us to go ahead and meet with the genetic counselor because we weren't out of the woods yet. So comforting to hear. So we did. And then we met with a specialist. And when the specialist walked in, he said, "Well, I'm really glad to meet you this morning because I just witnessed a miracle." And he sat down, and he was sober, and he was quiet. And I said, "Well, we had a lot of people praying for us." And he said twice, "Well, that is the power of prayer." And he told us we weren't out of the woods, that even if it resolved, there was a lot of abnormalities that we could potentially have as a result. So he had us undergo genetic testing. It came back clear. He had us do 4 ultrasounds for anatomy. All came back clear. And they had us do an echo, which is the ultrasound of the baby's heart, and that came back clear. They even told us towards the end of the anatomy scans that Gabe was going to have club feet. And turns out he didn't have that either. So that wouldn't be determined until birth. And he was born, and I said, "Did he have club feet?" And they said, "No." And so anyway, long story short, there are so many ways I can conclude our journey with Gabe. If you go to the next slide, he's here. He is 9 months old, so this is a little bit old. He is crawling. He's pulling up on things. And because God healed him, we have another one too. If you go to the next one, we have a Gabby Lou. And so Joe, my husband and I were talking, and we were like, how should you wrap this up? Because he sent me, because this is definitely not his thing. And he said that if he had to do this, he would say, God's not a God of statistics. And I said, that's so good, Joe. But I said, I really feel like there's something else we're supposed to say. And so I kept praying about it. And I really felt like the Holy Spirit led me to the verse in Romans 8:28. And it says, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. You know, what's interesting about this story is I said in the beginning that my OB was hyper, about ultrasounds. Normally, you don't have 3 ultrasounds before week 11. Had she not done that, though, and had I not experienced those multiple miscarriages, I would have missed Gabe's miracle because it was gone by week 12. So I really think that verse in Romans 8:28, sometimes we don't see the whole picture when we're going through things. I don't think that, life is free of trials. And just like those miscarriages, I don't know why I experienced those, and I won't know this side of heaven. But I know that he works all things together for the good of those that love him and are called according to his purpose. So after that, we're going to try and sing a song, and I'm going to need all the grace in the world because I actually haven't led a song for over a decade. But, in the Old Testament, Hannah, she went back to the temple, and she gave away her boy. And so, when Gabe got here, and he was perfect, he was in the NICU for 9 days, but that's because they came early and he had a hole in his lung. He's fine now. But I told God, I said, I'm going to honor you. I'm going to honor you, and I'll step out of my comfort zone. And I hope that if you're going through something, if God is bringing you through something, or you have someone close in your life that's going through something, that you remember that you're not alone, and that God is in your story. There's torn up pages in this book, words that tell me I'm no good, chapters that define me for so long. But the hands of grace and endless love dusted off and picked me up, told my heart that hope